Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and always a good day, and we have in our friends from National University, and ever since I met this gentleman, it's just been good for us folk here at Cloudcast Media, me personally, Drew Schlosberg, and that's Dr. Milliron. He is the president and CEO, and you name it, whatever, for National University. And Mark, it's really been a pleasure and an honor to work with you. We've been able to share some different events and so forth, and what you have done certainly capitalizing on the great work of the predecessors, and I'd be remiss if we didn't give a shout out to our good friend, Dr. Nancy Rowland, who I've been working with for a long time.
She is the heart and history of National University.
Exactly, executive vice president. So, and she's sitting and listening to this interview. How long have you been now at National University?
I've been about a year and a half, and it's been a wonderful ride. National University, as you know, is a special place, and
it is
a child of San Diego, and is kind of a success story, especially in its focus on non-traditional working and military students.
Well, it certainly is, and you brought in your colleague, Dr. Alvin McLean. He's the dean of the John F. Kennedy School of Psychology and Social Sciences. How you doing there, Dr. McLean?
Doing very well. So happy to be here.
Yeah. How long have you been working with National University?
About 12 years now.
About 12 years. All up at John F. Kennedy?
No, 10 were with John F. Kennedy and 2 with National.
Okay. Very, very good. Joined by my co-host, Kristen Fogel. Kristen is the executive director of San Diego Writers, Inc., celebrating their 20th anniversary this year. A lot of cool things going on at Liberty Station she has planned, but I know you have a question for Mark right out of the gate.
Yeah, we like to just get right into it. So what is the mission of National University?
So National University is laser focused on trying to open pathways to possibilities for striving students. And in particular, we've been focused on non-traditional working and military students from our founding. Mm-hmm. Our founder was a PhD Navy captain who was kind of heartbroken watching students coming out of the Vietnam War trying to access traditional education and take advantage of their GI Bill. And traditional education just didn't work for them. And so he wanted to create a model of education that was both accessible but also really high quality. So he worked with a bunch of former officers and got connected to the folks in California to help found a new university totally focused on that student population. And fast forward from that crazy idea to 52 years later, and we're 50,000 degree-seeking students, 80,000 contract training and workforce students all across the country, and with 6 colleges and schools. And one of our signature schools is our JFK School of Psychology and Social Sciences, which we'll be talking about today. It is one of the most, I think it's probably one of the most exciting schools for PsyD, marriage and family therapy, sports psychology, and the diversity of the students coming out of that program are pretty stunning. But what's great about National University, just to go back to your original question, is we have been from the beginning focused on creating world-class student experiences for non-traditional working and military students, and that is who we serve. And because of that, it gives us a focus that allows us to design around those needs. So it's 4-week classes, 8-week classes, online, hybrid. We even use now virtual reality and augmented reality tools. Any tool, technology, policy, or practice that makes us able to be able to offer high quality education to students at the doctoral level, master's level, or bachelor's level. We've got about 50 doctoral programs, 50 master's, and 50 bachelor's programs.
Wow.
You know what's amazing about this, and again, I've been fortunate to have been involved with National University for quite a while, but you guys are just always continuing to find what's the new thing to do. I know we'll talk a little bit about that before we get into Alvin. Talk about mental health, which is one of our favorite topics on our Spotlight show over here. You're always on the top of your game. You are even much better than Kevin Bacon. It's like a 1 degree of separation from National University because there's almost anybody you talk to in San Diego County or maybe California, for God's sake, that there's a connection with National University, including my daughter, who went and got her degree there too.
I love it. Wings up.
Yeah, without question about it. But you guys are always looking at ways to collaborate. There's not such a thing as a small audience or a large audience. You guys are great. So really, kudos to you, Mark, for continuing that tradition. And it's wonderful. It's great for us, certainly in this community, to do that. So
if I can just to comment on that a little bit.
Yeah.
One of our core philosophies is the idea is that we're better together.
Yeah.
We do not get into better than arguments. We love our colleagues at San Diego State, our colleagues at Cal State San Marcos, our colleagues at UCSD, and we especially love our community college partners. They're amazing partners with us. A big chunk of our undergraduate student population come directly from our community college partners, Mark Sanchez and Greg Smith and Sonny Cook. And just we have so many good partners out there who are doing good work, but we do not get into better than. We actually say, hey, if you're an 18-year-old who wants an on-campus experience, for the love of God, don't come to National. That's not who we are. But if you're a working professional who wants to have a high-quality educational experience and get your master's, your doctorate, or even your bachelor's, that's us. Right?
Yeah.
That's what we're designed for.
You're right. And you guys are so collaborative. Dr. McLean, I can't wait to start getting into this. Unless you live in the space station Mir, mental health certainly is at crisis proportions we've never seen before. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. And it's worse as a result of COVID, but it is a significant issue with our country right now.
Right, exactly. So thank you for what you do, what National University does in the John F. Kennedy School of preparing people. Chris and I talk about this quite a bit because we have a lot of mental health professionals that come on our Spotlight show, and we hear over and over again that the shortage of mental health professionals is just staggering. Talk about that.
Yes, it is a staggering problem, and it's particularly complicated by the fact that so many people who need mental health services are people of underserved communities and diverse populations. And we know from research that people do so much better and recover so much better when they are treated by people who look like them. So the need is not only great for mental health in general, but it's particularly problematic and concerning for mental health professionals who are people of color.
Right. So how do we change this and get this trajectory, back up? Obviously, what you're doing is part of that, but how do people work with you to elevate the amount of mental health professionals that we need in this community and, of course, in this country?
Well, as Mark talked about, we have a number of different programs, different options for people to come into the mental health field, starting at the bachelor's level and going on to the doctoral level in terms of social work, in terms of sports psychology, where we know that a lot of our athletes also experience some mental health problems, in terms of marriage and family therapy, which is a really excellent degree at the master's level, and we also have that at the doctoral level. And of course, our signature programs are the doctorate in clinical psychology.
Right. And, one of the things that we know, and we're seeing this in the K-12 space as well, that the kids are going through some pretty tough mental stuff. Health, talk about that.
Absolutely. And that is particularly concerning because there aren't a lot of mental health professionals within the school. So we develop a lot of sort of collaborative relationships with schools and school districts. In fact, one of the major activities that we provide is a community-based counseling program where our students go out specifically to schools.
That's great.
And provide one-to-one counseling with the students, work with the teachers, and coach them in how to be more effective in the classroom, work with the school counselors to assist them with strategies for helping children as well. So it's not just us providing the services, but we're trying to spread the wealth and spread the information by working closely with our collaborative partners in the school.
Yeah, and Drew, just a couple
Please.
of things. One of the things that's really powerful is Alvin's school, Dr. McLean's school, has really leaned into the notion of community engagement. So they work with our nurse-led clinics to provide mental health directly to folks in the Bay Area and now coming into San Diego. Work closely with school districts, and they're now working with community colleges, and literally hundreds of thousands of clinical hours donated to try to help support students on pathways. What we know from the world of education is that a big chunk of our students, we used to think it was academic problems that were holding students back. what we've really found is that psychosocial and life and logistic problems, everything from housing insecurity, food insecurity, but really imposter syndrome, deep anxiety issues, and mental health issues are a real problem for succeeding in higher education and succeeding in K-12. And what's been powerful has been watching Dr. McLean and his entire team just engage that and create, again, you talked earlier about the pathways. They're even now creating peer support specialist certification pathways where people can become a peer support specialist in that area and then ladder right into our bachelor's and master's programs.
Well, think about it. Kristen's got a 5-year-old. Mine are a little bit older than that right now. But that said, sometime the kids are going to express some, issues with mental health, anxiety, and to know you got folks like, Dr. McLean's group that are out there counseling. Not only a game changer for that kid, a game changer for that family. Precisely. And then the tentacles that go with that family, the siblings, the aunts and the uncles and all that. We're chatting with Dr. Mark Milliron. He is the president and CEO of National University, joined by his colleague, Dr. Alvin McLean, Dean of John F. Kennedy School of Psychology. I'm Drew Schlosberg, as you're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast. We're now in our 18th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union for more than 6 decades, just doing great things for us folk here in San Diego County, joined by my colleague, Kristen Fogel, Executive Director of San Diego Writers, Inc., celebrating their 20th anniversary this year. Kristen.
Yeah. I'm always interested in people's stories about how they got to where they are. And I mean, in particular, you've been here a year and a half, 2 years, you say. So what were you each doing kind of before National University, and what brought you there?
Well, before returning to John F. Kennedy University, starting at John F. Kennedy University, I actually was in corporate healthcare. I did a specialization in neuropsychology, and my area of specialization specifically was in brain and spinal cord injury. Oh. And I helped start a company that provided rehabilitation services to people with brain and spinal cord injuries. And then we expanded that program to high-risk neonates, to people who had congenital heart defects, to individuals who had been through severe burns. So we developed a whole suite of services for people with very severe diseases. And after doing that work and working in the corporate world, and we sold that company, I said, I really need to give back. I need to take all that I've learned and really take on this sort of a servant leader perspective and bring all this that I've been fortunate to be exposed to the education of doctoral students.
We just had on a guest, and you remember this.
Thinking about that,
exactly, Rally for Riley and Friends. This guy's all about spinal cord injuries. Yeah. And are you familiar with them?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, good. So you might want to look those up.
Yeah.
Mark, what's your story? And it is storied. It's a storied history.
Yeah, I have. I'm coming into my 4th decade in the world of education, doing work in lots of different seats. But almost always focused on trying to help more and more diverse students be more successful in education pathways. I come from a large and diverse family of 9 kids. I actually have an African-American brother, Native American brother, Korean sister. In addition to that, we had about 25 foster kids in my family that rotated through during the time I was growing up. But there really was no understanding of how to go on a higher education pathway. So if it wasn't for a local community college, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today. Really, I was able to, bus tables and wait tables and pay my way through school at the community college, transfer on, get 2 degrees at Arizona State, and my doctorate at UT Austin. And from that point forward, I was totally focused on how do we help more low-income, first-generation, striving students get on that pathway to possibility. So I've been blessed to work in universities, community colleges. I've worked with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. I've worked. I've actually consulted with everybody from the State Department to foreign countries. Anybody who's trying to open the pathway, especially for low-income and first-generation students. That's what I've been about. And coming to National was natural because this kind of mission is in the genes of National University. And getting to work with people like Dr. McLean and others who are just so passionate about opening up these kinds of pathways. But more importantly, making sure that folks from diverse backgrounds and different backgrounds have the ability to come in and make their mark. So we actually run something called the Cause Research Institute because we're a pretty significant research university at National, but almost all the research we do is around improving things, improving education, improving healthcare, improving mental health. And whatever it is, we always say it's about improving X. And so we ask our students, what's your X? Like, what do you want to make a difference in? How do you want to make a difference? And what's really powerful is we're able to help them from first stages of getting certifications all the way through to get their doctorate. And as they're getting their doctorate and they're doing the research, how can they make a difference? And I'll just give you one example. I'd love for Alvin to expand on this. Is we're now in conversations right now by doing a pretty large-scale project around we're calling the fourth trimester, which is really trying to bring together psychological support services for that fourth trimester, for the time after a woman gives birth, because so much has been kind of left on the table. We have not researched it enough. We don't understand it enough. We don't support it enough. And so Dr. Lee Rice, who is a San Diego legend, and he's on our board, he's working with us with a family of partners to really kind of look at what can we do in that fourth trimester to really wrap the right kind of support around around mothers and their young children, especially in that incredibly important first phase, right?
Yeah.
Like after that process. So Alvin, if you want to jump in on that.
Absolutely. One of the focuses of this project is to engage in what is called interprofessional education and practice. That means we're going to be bringing together physicians and nurses and psychologists and social workers all together as a team to focus on how can we reduce the likelihood of children not succeeding during that first year after birth. The largest number of children who die within that first year are children of color. And it's due to numerous reasons. A lack of understanding of the mother in terms of what needs to be done, not good follow-up with the OBGYN or the pediatrician during that first period, and not the resources for good nutrition. So a number of different factors. But
and then the postpartum depression.
Absolutely, Mark. That's really critical because that results in sort of a reduction in activity and just an inability to make decisions on the part of the mother and the family. So what needs to be done is not a single person addressing the problem, but you have to have that team to look at all facets of the reasons for the problem in the home and address those in a tight team method. So we call it the interprofessional practice and education process.
And what's beautiful about National, is just that our students come from these kinds of backgrounds. They have a sense of empathy and understanding, and so they're able to add that wisdom. I think when you combine that, it really is a kind of domain expertise, right? Yep, and because they understand it, they're able to kind of really add a lot of value in the research and study around it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I want to address when we come back from break. Also want to talk a little bit about the next generation education that you're so familiar with, and you did a great job talking about it in whole human education. And then Mark, as you know, and Alvin, this will be new for you, we always save time in the second half of the show. What can our listeners do to support your efforts? Okay, whichever way they need to be done. We've been doing this for quite a while now, 18 years, and they're used to helping out in this aspect. When we return with Dr. Mark Milliron, he is the president and CEO of National University, joined by his colleague, Dr. Alvin McLean, Dean of the John F. Kennedy School of Psychology and Social Sciences. I'm Drew Schlosberg, as you've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest running community podcast, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, joined by my co-host, Kristen Fogel, Executive Director of San Diego Writers, Inc. We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. Honored to have back into the studio, and this will not be the last time. We're going to have our good friends from National University and Dr. Mark Milliron. He's the president and CEO, joined by his colleague, Dr. Alvin McLean, dean of the John F. Kennedy School of Psychology and Social Sciences, joined by my co-host, Kristen Fogel, executive director of San Diego Writers Inc. Kristen.
Yeah, so we've touched on it a little bit, but I wonder if one or both of you could speak a little bit to this next generation education concept.
Yeah, our working theory is that we want to make a powerful difference with the non-traditional working and military student population. Mm-hmm. And to do that effectively, you have to design for that population. Mm-hmm. So our kind of theory of practice, our theory of the case, is that we have to wrap what we call next generation education practice and policy and technology. So whatever is new that can actually push the boundary to be more effective in that area. Education's always getting better, right? Mm-hmm. And so what new tool can we use? Back in the 70s, we were pushing the boundary with our education model in 4-week and 8-week courses, but we were also using cutting-edge asynchronous learning technology in 1974 called the cassette tape, right? And then you push forward, and we became innovators in online learning. We became innovators now with virtual reality and augmented reality. We've been connecting with our colleagues at Apple around possibly using Vision Pro and spatial computing. Mm-hmm. We'll use whatever tool, technology, and we're now obviously doing a lot of work with AI. Our goal is to use next generation education practice and then wrap it in what we call whole human education. And that whole human education is the understanding that for many of our students, the issues they might face in completion have nothing to do with academics. Sometimes you want to get the right academic support, but a lot of it is life and logistics. It is actually family support, community support, career support, and sometimes it is really psychosocial support. Mm-hmm. And that's where the JFK School of Psychology and Social Science actually is a great kind of resource for us. But you have to put that on purpose. So our kind of theory says next gen wrapped in whole humans got to be aimed at something. And so we aim it at what we call value-rich education. Because a lot of people today feel like they're not getting value out of what their experience is. And our goal is to make sure it's credential-rich, connection-rich, experience-rich. They're getting the family of credentials, badges, certifications, degrees that really will help them have better economic choices and opportunity. Second, we want them to have the connections that really will open doors for them and actually enrich their lives. So with other students, other faculty, connecting with faculty, but also connecting with professionals in their field. So we want it to be a connection-rich experience. And then we want them to have experiences, whether it's with internships or experiential learning, project-based learning, that actually are transformative. So we're curating and connecting all of our programs with that in mind. And we're trying to wrap everything from the curriculum itself to co-curricular around it. So when Dr. McLean talks about the work they're doing in clinicals and actually doing volunteer work in partnership with community colleges and school districts and community clinics, that's like deep reality therapy. So they have a good understanding of what it's going to be when they go into practice. And that's kind of our theory of work. It's like we want every student who comes to us, we want to make sure they have next generation educational tools and technologies and practice wrapped in whole human and aimed at value rich, so they walk away feeling like, we always jokingly say the low bar in higher education is completion. Like, of course they should complete what they start, right. But we want them to suck the marrow out of this experience, right? We want them to get everything they possibly can get. So the idea, this should be a transformative experience.
Yeah, well, that's a beautiful trifecta, and to say the least in this, and any person going through that experience is going to hit it at every one of those levels. And to your point, Mark, what Alvin was talking about, giving those experiences, especially in, counseling with the K-12 area and so forth. Let me ask you this, and you know this. I hope in my lifetime, of course, lifetime is shortening these days, but we will not look at mental health as a stigma. I would hope by the year 2024, we'd be somewhere down that road. I think we're better than we used to be. This, you're the expert on that, but we're not there yet, correct? Correct. How do we get there?
We get there by talking about it. Very literally just making sure that it becomes a part of the conversation, not just in a educational setting, but we get there by bringing it up in churches and bring it up in activities in parks and with sports. we bring it up in every facet of our day-to-day existence, because unless we make it accessible and real and comfortable for people to talk about it, it will always become a stigma. But that's one of the ways.
And also,
to do it.
I mean, just to add, I'd love for you to talk about this. I know you're passionate about this, Alvin. Is really talk about the idea that is turning the frame to wellness and thriving. So the idea is it's not always responding to a distressing situation. It's actually getting upstream. And one of the best things you can do is focus on wellness and thriving.
Absolutely, Mark. And that I should have led with that, actually, because that can make a significant difference in the lives of so many people. Little things, such as just teaching people how to put in place a daily routine of being mindful. And it's nothing associated with mental illness by being mindful. We know that the research on mindfulness actually significantly alters not only mental health issues, but physical health issues. Mm-hmm. So the wellness is a critical area.
Well, and it's amazing, I am not based in this on any type of scientific stuff, I'll tell you that right now. But you look at the animal kingdom and they seem to get it right, in some of these things. And then we try to complicate stuff when it's something is just being mindful. It doesn't cost you any money. You don't need to have Bill Gates money. You can have Drew Schlosberg money or whatever the case may be. And those little things and a little bit of kindness, okay, and a little bit of whatever leads to empathy, which basically is a game changer, is it not?
Yeah, absolutely. We have in our school what is called the Whole Person Center. And the Whole Person Center is available to everybody and anybody. And then all of the services are provided online. But the principal things that people come to engage in is our mindfulness workshops. And the other thing that they really engage in is just opportunities to sit and talk with others who are going through similar activities. For example, the dissertation hour that we have for students who are just struggling with their dissertations. Mm-hmm. We've gotten remarkable sort of comments from students by just having that opportunity to talk to someone else who's doing the same sort of activity.
Yeah, and we all know that when you're in there with the same person that has whatever that may be, the dissertation. I remember I was going to be doing my thesis. I'm getting the yips when I think about this stuff right now. And of course, both you guys did your PhDs and so forth. That's so critical. Mark, I'll start with you on this, and we'll end with Dr. McLean. What can we do? What can our listeners do to continue this unbelievable work that you're doing in so many facets at National University?
Well, if you want to learn more about nationalnu.edu is a place to learn more about our different programs and services. But I got to tell you, one of the most important things, especially when we're talking about mental health and we're talking about thriving, we're talking about wellness, just realize San Diego has a thriving community focused on this work. So again, we're blessed to have on our board Dr. Lee Rice, who helped found the center of kind of this larger conversation, Life Wellness Institute. And one of the things we like to always tell people is just getting on the pathway towards that kind of improvement. And that can be just little steps. And often we see so many people who are coming to National who are just taking that step to make their life better, like that extra step. And we're trying to create an educational model that lets them get on that pathway to possibility, even while they're working, even while they're raising kids, even while they're in the military. We're trying to make it easier. And we were just talking about the dissertation. We actually run something called the Dissertation Completion Program because there are more ABDs in this country, all but dissertation, people who finished all their coursework but didn't finish their dissertation, than there are people with PhDs and EDDs.
Right.
So our Dissertation Completion Program kind of meets that student where they are and then wraps the right kind of support around them and helps them get to done. And one of the things that's powerful when you walk in that room is it is almost 90% diverse. Mm-hmm. And when you talk to the students, what you find out is most of them did not leave because they had an academic issue of any kind. It's because life blew up, relationships blew up, some kind of support happened, and the traditional model just wasn't able to bend with whatever was going on in their life, and we're able to help them get back on that pathway. Our goal at National is to show up high academic quality. We celebrate academic excellence at the highest level, but with all kinds of support at the same time. We're going to hold you to a high standard, but we're going to give you all kinds of support along the way. So the best thing you can do, I always tell people, is just take that step. Take a step to kind of get on that journey. It doesn't have to even be with National. We don't care. Like we're really ecumenical about this. We just want people to get on steps towards getting better.
No, that's great. Dr. McLean, any final comments?
No, just a thank you. Doing more of these opportunities is really makes a big difference in terms of getting the word out.
Yeah, well, and Nancy knows this as well, and so does Mark. I've come to know Mark, and just, it's been a good thing for Drew. We can't shout out all the great work that you folks are doing, especially in your world, Dr. McLean. We're going to have a couple more interviews that are going to be coming up with Mark, and we literally could do this every single week and still run out of time without question. People need to know about this. You can't say it enough. Mark's a communication expert, as you are, so you got to say it more than once, and so forth. So thank you for what you are doing. You're going to make, and already are making, this place a much healthier mental health place and listen, the sky is the limit on this.
Absolutely.
And would love to have you somewhere down the road come back in.
I would absolutely love that.
And chat about the 55,000 things we didn't talk about. How's that sound?
That sounds wonderful.
Very good. Mark, as always, a pleasure seeing you and all the great work that your university is doing, and really appreciate you being so kind to me personally and, of course, to Cloudcast Media. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for all you do. You're a wonderful catalyst in this community, and we're just glad to play a part.
We appreciate that. Dr. Mark Milliron, he is the president and CEO of National University, joined by his colleague, Dr. Alvin McLean, Dean of the John F. Kennedy School of Psychology and Social Sciences. I'm Drew Schlosberg, and you've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest running community podcast, now in our 18th year. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union for 6 decades, doing great things. As always, Kristen Fogel, thank you for being my co-host. Kristen, the executive director of San Diego Writers, Inc. We hope you enjoyed the show.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.